G'day again, guys, and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're taking a look at the nature of business as the topic of the three major topics. We're looking at the subtopic, types of business, and it's the second out of the four, so we've already done our first one. And we're looking at the syllabus dot point, classification of a business. Now, we've already looked a fair bit at classifying businesses, and there is how many ways to classify a business? Test yourself. You said 4, you're doing well, you've been paying attention. We've got the size, the scale, the industry or the industry sector, primary, secondary, tertiary, etc. And we've got the final fourth one, which is the legal structure. What legal structure does your business choose to adopt? Okay, and then later we'll be looking at the factors that influence your choice of legal structure. Not today, but in future lessons. Now, how many different legal structures do we study in Year 11 Business Studies? Ask yourself that question. You had 5? Again, well done, guys, you're doing well. If not, do some study. Go to a different place. Okay, we're going to be looking at 2 today, which are the private company, PTY Ltd, and public companies, which finish with the Ltd, just limited. Now, these are companies, these are businesses, but they're another level. They are also companies. When we took a look at sole trader businesses, they're not companies. We look at partnership businesses, they're again not companies. They both have unlimited liability and private, whereas private and public businesses are also companies. They're incorporated and they're seen as separate legal entities. In the following lesson, we'll look at the 5th legal structure, which is a government enterprise. Now, when we take a look here at private companies, a proprietary private company is the most common type of company structure in Australia. So out of the 2, there's more private companies than there are publicly listed companies. You wouldn't think so. If I said to you, tell me an example of a private company, you probably couldn't think of one. I can, Audi, but there's not a lot, that you can think of, because public companies are bigger than private companies in size, but there is heaps more private companies than publicly listed companies. They're just so big, the public ones, you know of them. Telstra, ANZ, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and usually they have between 2 and 50 private shareholders. You are able to, you're the owner of a private company, someone else wishes to join, you can just knock them back because you want to. You don't have to accept them. It's a little different with a public company. Okay, they're floated on the ASX, public companies, and you pretty much, as long as they meet certain basic requirements, like the number of shares you're able to own and their foreign ownership laws and things, pretty much anyone can buy a public company or parts of it. Not so private. Now, private companies often tend to be small to medium in size. So we're seeing this connection again between the different classifications of a business. Small to medium in size, private companies. And they tend to be family-owned and run businesses. Shares in proprietary companies, private companies, are offered to those people the business wishes to have as part owners. I already mentioned that. They don't have to accept anybody. Okay, it's kind of an elitist, a special group, and they can say, yeah, I want you to be part of that, or no, I don't. Shareholders can only sell their shares to people approved of by the other directors. Again, this gets into the fact that new owners in this company, okay, they need to be approved by everyone else that's there, the directors. This is why such a company is called a private company. Makes sense. It's private, it's discreet. You get much more choice in who can be part of your company. It is not listed on, and you can't buy and sell shares through the ASX, Australian Securities Exchange. You cannot, okay? It's not where it's done. That's where public companies. Now, a private company must have the words proprietary limited, which is abbreviated to PTY Ltd, after its name, indicating that they are an incorporated company. They're incorporated. They're not just a business. and that they are also a private company as well, not just LTD, which is for a publicly listed company. They again have this limited liability because it's a separate legal entity. If the company sucks and becomes insolvent, because it's a company, it's insolvency, not bankruptcy, all right, then you will be unlikely to use your own personal assets. That's different for the business of sole trading business and for partnership businesses. So the main advantage of a private company is that shareholders have limited liability protection. Okay, they're liable, no, but in a limited way, they're protected a bit. But a major disadvantage of this is the cost of formation. Putting it together can be very expensive, okay, and can also become too large that result in inefficiencies. So that can also be an issue. All right, that's the private company. On the other hand, you've got a public company. It ends in LTD. These are more well known. They operate often on a national or global scale or level, but there are not as many of them as private companies. Not many of these as SMEs too. They're much bigger and in number, SMEs. Public company is a large company that operates at the national global level, as I said. Some decent, well-known examples include Coles or Nike. Now, they need to have an issue or prospectus. They need to issue a prospectus rather, prior to being floated on the ASX, the share market. So if you have a private company to start with, or you've got a GBE, a government business enterprise, or maybe a really big partnership, it's a legal structure, you might want to be able to get a whole bunch of inflow of capital, of money, to expand your business. You want to sell a large amount of shares in your business or your company, and to do that you issue this thing called a prospectus. It's a big, thick, detailed report, and anyone who's interested in buying shares in your soon-to-be listed public company, right, they are able to get a copy of this prospectus. In fact, they can ask for it and you must give it to them. So that's the first step in floating, placing, selling your shares on the public company. Your public company on the ASX. Now, the key difference between a public and private company, as I said before, is that anybody is allowed to purchase shares in a public company, whereas private are smaller in size, they're family-owned business, and the board of directors for private companies choose who can buy shares or not. Okay, public companies also have to have limited after their names or abbreviated to LTD. So look out for that sometimes when you're seeing things advertised, or in the fine print at least. This indicates that they are an incorporated company because they've got LTD, that means limited. Okay, they have limited liability, they're protected in some way and they're incorporated. All right, they don't have PTY in front of it like a private company because PTY stands for proprietary, which means private. So public companies just have the LTD after their name. Hope all that gibberish makes sense. If not, come see me, I'll explain. An advantage of a public company is there is a greater spread of risk, which is a good thing. You've got millions of shareholders in Telstra, if not more, tens of millions. If it goes down, well, everyone shares that loss. So it's not you are losing 100% yourself like a sole trading business. All right, they're also incorporated. That's another advantage. And we said that's limited liability. So you can only lose the shareholdings that you have in that public company. And I have shares in public companies. If they become insolvent, Telstra, ANZ, all of those public companies I have shares in become insolvent, I've still got my it's not a fancy house, it's a bit of a crap hole, but I've still got my house. No one can touch that. Right, now in addition to this, it is easier to expand and to source funds and obtain finance with a public company. Why? More owners means the spread of risk is less for the business or the bank lending you money. So it's easy to be able to grow it, and that's why people set up public companies, to grow and expand their businesses and their companies. Now, disadvantages include the cost of formation. It's super high. Unlike sole traders where it's minimal red tape, these are pretty high. And also, the business must publish a yearly report of audited accounts. So that's another step you have to go through. That, private companies don't need to in so much depth, and definitely sole trading businesses and partnerships don't need to. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.